Slaptail Squad, assemble.
This is the Slaptail Squad, and I am the Beaveman, master of the universe, not unlike He-Man in some ways. Same physique, same loincloth, same sword.
Because you have
But I
the
don't have that.
power!
Yeah, but I don't have that crazy blonde hair, nor do I want it. I also don't have the physique. I sort of have the tan. Did you ever notice that Prince Adam didn't have a tan, but He-Man did? How weird was that?
A little bit weird.
I don't know how they couldn't tell them two apart. It's not like he was pulling a Clark Kent on him wearing glasses.
Yeah, I mean, you got one guy who's running around in some sort of a furry loincloth with a big, giant, like, cross emblem on his chest, and you've got Adam who's running around wearing purple and white tights. But I think it's the tan, man.
Well, okay, given that they only had one tiger on the entire planet, how could you not tell that was Battle Cat?
One green tiger.
That was it. I mean, no one could equate that. Oh, look, there's another green tiger. I mean,
yeah, and was there any episode where they ever asked Battle Cat, like, hey, do you know Gringer? Are you guys like related? Is that like your cousin?
You know,
does he talk? He doesn't talk.
Oh yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Yeah. Such a night and day personality, though. Cringer and Battle Cat. Battle Cat was fucking awesome, dude. Did you have one, Ronz?
No, I did not.
You're too old for that. You were already a teenager.
I watched a lot of animation when I was a kid, and that was one of the things I watched. Right? Orko, the token goofball magician, right, or sorcerer, right?
I personally like
Man
Orko.
of Many Faces, cool. Skeletor.
There's some pretty freaking badass. There's some pretty badass Skeletor tattoos out there, and there's been many times when I'm like, damn, I think Skeletor would be a badass tattoo to have. I personally wouldn't get it, but in the back of your head, you're like, if I could get a tattoo temporarily for a period of time and then just magically went away, that would be a pretty sweet one to have.
Well, you get a tattoo with ultraviolet ink, and then it wouldn't show up unless it's under black white, or you got really close to it and you could see the outline.
Maybe.
Have you ever seen an ultraviolet tattoo?
No, is that a real thing? Are you just
no? That's a real thing. It's a real thing. It looks bizarre. Like if you look at it, it looks like burned. It was burned in, right, because of the raised ink,
like branding.
Yeah, like branding. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. But under ultraviolet light, it pops out. Right?
What would be the point of that? Just like you go to a rave and everybody's like, "Oh, check out this."
Look at my Skeletor tattoo.
Well, no. I mean, that would be one way of looking at it, but it also probably professionalism. Like some professions don't allow you to have tattoos anymore above a certain point. So if you had a tattoo, you could keep it somewhat professional, and you'd have to notice it on someone.
You know what I think would be cool is if I was like buff, which I'm not, but if I was buff and I could find a badass Skeletor costume, because I will say this, the He-Man movie sucked balls, but at least Dolph Lundgren was big enough to be He-Man, and the Skeletor costume was fucking pretty badass. The facial costume.
That was Jack Palance, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and so whoever did the silicone makeup or whatever they did was really good. But if I could be buff, if I was buff, I would totally be Skeletor if I could convince Andy to be He-Man.
That would be funny.
And Andy look nothing alike, though. I mean, at least...
why would they need to look alike? He's going to be He-Man. Why would he need to look like him?
Okay, my mistake. I thought he was talking about He-Man and then Prince Adam. I kind of zoned out on there.
I would be Skeletor, and he could be He-Man.
Yeah, I zoned out on that for a quick second, and that was.
I just don't like his hair. Why would he have a little bob haircut? I don't really like that haircut.
No, it would be. I'm just saying it would be funny because Andy's not ripped, but just to have this kind of, just big kind of not ripped He-Man, I think that would be funny, and I could be like Skeletor. I don't know.
Now you're busting on Andy.
No,
you're busting on Andy.
He's not ripped. He's not. He's just a big dude.
I bet Andy could be ripped. If he wanted to be.
He could. No, of course he could be ripped.
It was Frank.
I'm giving you props here, Andy.
By the way, it was Frank Langella who played Skeletor. That's my mistake. Yeah.
He played Dracula in a movie several years ago also that was pretty decent when I was a kid.
However, when you really think about the prosthetics of the Skeletor, I mean, they'd have to bring in the guy who did the Red Skull nowadays, because that looked pretty good.
Oh yeah, that did look good. I think that, but Skeletor, I thought that, that looked pretty. Most of the time, you know how they fuck it up. They just screw it up totally. That one they did really well on. Anyway, this is the Slaptail Squad. We were just talking about He-Man. I don't know why. Oh, because I'm the master of the universe.
Yeah,
that's why. That's why. I think they just didn't recognize him because of the tan, Ron.
Maybe it was like a wash-off tan. He just put it on when he decided to be He-Man and then washed it off after.
So there's actually a time lapse from the time he raises the sword and becomes He-Man. Yes. It's actually a good 4 hours that happens, and they just are spray tanning him.
Or that lightning bolt that struck him actually kind of baked him or cooked him a little.
Does the spray tan.
And gave him a bit of a tan. Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, with me, my number 2, the Ronz.
Hey.
And the Swan is here with us also. Say hello, Swan.
Hello, Swan.
So we're going to have some fun today, I hope.
I hope so.
So hey, we're going to play a game.
Well, okay. I'm on board.
This pen doesn't work. God damn it!
Why doesn't your pen work?
Well, not metaphorically, my pen, but this pen itself doesn't work. metaphorically, that one doesn't work so great either. Hey,
I was going to stay away from comments like that after your comment, like when our fellow squad member who isn't here, Tremonde, right, says, I have, certain responsibilities. And I'm like, oh, and the way you made the text sound like, okay, we're sorry that you can't show up. And I'm like, okay, sending out bro hugs. And you're like, you're a weird motherfucker, Ron. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see how that goes. So I was going to refrain from saying anything stupid like that or anything.
But you can't help yourself.
You know what? I did so far. I've done it so far until the Beaveman said, my pen and my other pen doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, that was a trap and I didn't fall into it. So what's our game?
So this is going to be a fun game. Okay, so what we have to do though, I don't want you to... all I want one of you to do is to take your headphones off, but keep watching because we're going to kind of like wave at you when it's your turn to play the game.
Okay, Ronz, you can go first.
Hold on. Is it like one of those old game shows where like he's back in his sound booth with headsets on and he can't hear us? Now, which vial has the antidote to save him?
No, not like that. I'm not going to kill you. No, I'm not going to kill you. No, I'm not going to kill you.
No, it's going to be like Love Connection or one of those where who picks the right answer.
No, but if you do have...
like Family Feud?
These questions you're going to kind of want to remember because we're going to talk about them. But I do want you to... If you have like a notepad and pen or something like that where you can kind of make your own little notes, or if you want to talk about like question 1 or 2 or whatever, just put it down because we're gonna kind of hit it. Because as we go through the game rather is going to be kind of quick, so you might forget stuff, but we'll go back over it.
Okay.
So I just want to see who scores what, and that way I can see how your thought process is.
Is this one of those psych-eval tests where where I fail? I'm like, well, we know he's all screwed up and he needs help.
No, those ones are not fun. And you know what? You could take the autism test or the ADD test, and most people will score.
I'm pretty sure I got both of them.
They have them. All right, so who wants to go?
I volunteered Ronz to go first.
Yeah, I was going to say on that ADHD test or whatever it's called, they don't have the answer squirrel because I think that would be the answer for every.
But you're like, but you couldn't sit down long enough to take it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so Ronz, you want to go first?
Yeah. So what do? I just take off my headsets, right?
No, you're going first.
No, you're going first.
All right.
You're like, I would ask you the question with your headset off. You got to try to figure out what I'm saying, and you have to answer the question.
So the ADHD test, I just failed.
Yes. Now we know the answer to the question. Yes.
Okay.
I take
so Swan,
mine off.
But keep watching. Okay. We're just going to kind of wave at you.
Okay, when it's my turn. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I actually wave with the little hand thing, but
no, just wave with your
hand.
We'll just
animate. We'll just be really animated.
We'll animate it.
Okay, I'm taking my headphones off.
It's probably only going to take him like a minute and a half or 2 minutes to get through these questions.
Okay.
It's a series of questions.
Bye, fans.
Bye.
Yes, it's a series of questions.
Okay,
so
now we can talk about her.
She definitely can't hear it. Yeah. Okay. What do you want to say about her? Anything?
No. I admire you and Swan for the frontline work that you guys do. So I got my COVID shot today. Or I'm sorry, Thursday. And my arm feels like I went through military boot camp again. Getting your
we'll have to talk about that more because we don't want her off the show for 10 minutes.
She might just leave.
All right. Are you ready, Ron?
I am ready, and I've got a notepad open.
Okay, here we go. What year do you remember the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding?
Ooh. 1987, if I'm correct, because I was at RAF Lakenheath when that happened.
Yeah, you don't have to be correct on any of them. I just want to know what your answer is. So you're saying 1987. Okay, I'll write that down. All right. Do you remember what time of the year it was? Was it spring, summer, winter, fall?
It was fall, I think.
Okay. All right. Question number 3. Does Curious George have a tail?
No.
Okay. Is it called Jif or Jiffy peanut butter?
Both, depending on where you're at in the world.
What is the brand name?
Jif.
Okay. Okay. So everyone loves Pikachu. I personally believe. You know what Pikachu is?
I do. It's Pokemon.
All right. Does Pikachu's tail have a black tip at the end, or is it just yellow?
Black tip, if I'm right.
Okay. All right. So even though you and I were not alive at this time, okay, I'm sure that you've heard of the Lindbergh baby being kidnapped.
I remember that.
Just like you probably remember hearing about the Black Dahlia.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Was the Lindbergh baby found, or is it missing to this day?
Missing to this day. And yeah, still. Well, yeah, and possibly passed away at this point.
Yeah, most likely not alive. Even if it was never dead, it was not most likely not alive. Okay. From the game Monopoly, does rich Uncle Pennybags wear a monocle?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like am I being tested? It's like
no.
What is it?
The Berenstain Bears. Robot. Berenstain Bears. Is it Berenstain spelled with stain, or is it Berenstain spelled with Stein?
Stein.
All right. So, do you remember the movie Gremlins?
I do.
And you remember the bad guy Gremlin who was the one started it off at all, the one who ate after midnight, the ringleader?
I do.
Okay. Was his name Spike or Stripe?
Ooh. Spike. And he wasn't the first gremlin. The first gremlin was Mogwai, as it was called.
Well, Mogwai is their species.
Yeah, so he really wasn't technically the first gremlin.
No, he was the first one to split off from, what's his name, though? What was his
name? Yeah, it was Spike.
What was his...
I think his name was Gizmo.
Yeah, Gizmo. Yeah, so he's the first one to split off from Gizmo. All right. Okay, so everybody loves the guy who tells us we can prevent forest fires, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we see his character throughout the country. Is it Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear?
Oh, Smokey the Bear.
Okay. Here's a hard one that I could not answer either way, I'm pretty sure. But is chartreuse a shade of pink or a shade of green?
Chartreuse is a shade of pink, actually. It's more of a rosé color. I mean,
okay.
Depending on
all right, finally, this is my favorite one, Ronz.
All righty. I got this.
So you remember when The Wonderful World of Disney would come on Sunday nights, right?
I do indeed.
Okay. So did Tinkerbell fly out and write Disney and then dot the I?
I'm trying to remember. She flew out over there. Yeah, I think she dotted the I.
Now, did she write out Disney and dot the I, or did she just dot the I, or any variation thereof? What do you remember?
Geez, without looking at the logo, I would have to say that she wrote it and then dotted the I. Then it probably disappeared if I'm correct.
Okay, all right, Ronz, that is it. Nice job. All right. So now what I'm going to have you do is we're going to wave it in.
I haven't messed up in so many episodes that I'm just amazed that you do.
That was a really long time to be quiet. It's my turn. Now it's my turn, though. So I probably won't know what to say.
Swan?
it's my turn to answer the questions, but now that I'll be put on the spot, I won't be able to do it. I'll be like, I
by the
don't
way,
know.
if you didn't hear, I said thank you for all your work that you've done as a frontliner. I got my COVID shot. My arm feels like it's been put through hell. It's been hurting the last couple of days, but thank you.
All right, suck it up, Ronz. Better than COVID. Suck it up.
You could have just said thank you for what he said, or you're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Ronz. Thank you, Ronz. You're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, it also took a little while because Ronz wanted to have a conversation, and then I was like, well, we don't want her off for too long.
Yeah. That's on me.
So did you enjoy that, Ronz? Are you excited now? Are you going to make some notes while I do this with the Swans?
I actually made the notes.
All right, so you take your headphones off.
So yeah.
But he gets to hear my question.
I mean, he could. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter
off.
now. I mean, he's taking it.
Yeah, I'll just keep.
No,
quiet.
I want him to not
take
hear
your
my
headphones
answers,
up, Ronz, and then we'll talk about
Yeah.
them. We'll talk about them.
So now the Ronz is going to go in the silent booth, so he can't hear her answers. Then we're going to.
We can see you, Ronz. Don't do anything we don't want to see.
Even want to.
Keep your
you might even
hands
want to
visible.
mute your
Keep your
mic
hands
so we
visible.
don't hear anything either.
I did mute my mic. I wasn't doing
to
anything that
Ronz.
Ronz is going to do, though.
Yeah.
No.
Survey says the Swan is right.
Okay, Swan, are you ready? You can take your time to answer these, but try not to rationalize them, and definitely don't change your answer. Just answer. Okay?
Okay.
What year do you remember the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding?
1983.
Okay, and do you remember what time of the year it was? Was it spring, summer, winter, fall?
Probably fall.
Okay. All right, question number 3. Does Curious George have a tail?
I don't think he does. He's a bad little monkey.
Yes. It's just because
Naughty
he's
little
a
monkey.
curious little monkey.
I feel like curious is another word for asshole.
Question number 4. Is it called Jif or Jiffy Peanut Butter?
Jif.
All right. Everybody loves Pikachu, of course. Does Pikachu's tail have a black tip or is it yellow?
I think it is yellow because it's supposed to be a lightning bolt.
Okay. So even though we were not alive, I'm sure you've probably heard of the Lindbergh baby abduction.
Really? No, I don't think so. Probably
Pretty
not.
famous.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
well,
I don't
know if this is an appropriate question for you, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
I'll make it up
So
then.
even though we weren't alive, I'm sure you probably heard of the Lindbergh baby, just like we've all probably heard of the Black Dahlia. Was the Lindbergh baby found or is it missing to this day?
I'm going to go with missing. I got a 50-50 chance.
From the game Monopoly, does rich Uncle Pennybags wear a monocle?
No.
All right. Okay. The Berenstain Bears. Is it Berenstain or Berenstain spelled as in Stein, or is it spelled as in stain?
I think it's Stein.
I'm sure you remember the movie Gremlins. So you remember the evil gremlin who was the ringleader of everything, the first one to split off from Gizmo and then eat after midnight. Was his name Spike or Stripe?
Yes. Ooh. Stripe.
Okay. Let's see. So, and everybody loves the guy who tells us we can prevent forest fires, and we see his character throughout the country. Is it Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear?
Smokey Bear? No,
okay. All right. And this is what I was telling Ronz, this is the one I would never get right anyway. Is chartreuse a shade of pink or a shade of green?
Green. Like pukey green color.
All right. And this is my favorite question. And try to think about it and then be descriptive. And then we'll think about it later also. All right. Okay. So you remember The Wonderful World of Disney used to be on Sunday nights. Okay. Did Tinkerbell fly out and write Disney and then dot the I?
I think so with her little
Do you distinctly remember her writing Disney and then dotting the I, or do you remember anything else?
No, I don't really remember. So I'm just going to go with maybe Disney appeared in her dust or something and then she dotted it.
All right, let's wave at Ronz. Is he paying attention?
He's not even looking.
He's just waving back.
He only
He's
has
just
one hand
waving
visible,
back.
so
Still waving. He's there. He's there. There's the Ronz.
there.
Hey,
Are
Ronz
you back,
is back.
Ronz? Guess who's back?
Again.
All
Turn
right,
your mic
cool.
on.
Yeah, I turned my mic on. I was
Ronz
taking
is
some notes.
back.
I didn't look up any of the answers,
Tell
by the way,
a
so
friend.
it's cool.
Good job. Good job. I figured you'd be frantically
Ronz
Googling
is
in the
back.
background.
No, I was
Ronz
cleaning
is
up my
back.
emails.
Ronz is back. Ronz is
I'm
back.
back. I'm back. Thank you.
you.
So hopefully the answers between me and the Swan, at least
Well,
one of us
here's
got
the
them correct.
thing.
2 brains equals
What I
1.
did was I picked questions
like
that are
that.
commonly flip-flopped in everybody's mind, as in having collective memories. And then I can tell you some of my answers too. Also, what year do you remember the Space Shuttle Challenger exploding? In my memory, it sticks out as 1985. The Swan said 1983, and Ronz said 1987. I know I was in 5th grade, and for some reason I equate that with 1985, but I'm sure, 1985, but apparently it was actually 1986. But then
I said 87.
You said 87.
I think I was in like 1st or 2nd grade, but I didn't put a year with it.
In a grade with an overlap of 2 years, so that might be why I keep remembering 1985. But vividly in my head, it's 1985. It's not 1985. It's actually 1986.
Yeah, because you're right. Because in 87, well, not that you were wrong, but in 87 I was in Europe, and in 86 I was at Lake Nathan. I remember when it happened because we were all at our duty section. Right? Yeah, I remember.
I remember when it happened because we were all in the library watching the launch.
I remember that too, but I just didn't. I picked a random year, and I don't know why I picked 83. Because if I do math, I would have been too young.
Right, but what the point is, you pick. Like, if anybody ever asks me, I know I always say 1985. So interesting. And it was so. Of course, then.
So it's actually 86. So your next question
it would have been in
then.
the winter.
Winter. See, I wouldn't think they would launch rockets in the winter.
But it's in Florida and Cape Canaveral, and
Florida
why did it?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But then why did it explode?
I thought it was
because of ice.
Right.
Actually, I think it was a faulty O-ring.
Because of ice. It was icing up.
It was icing up. I thought it was because of a faulty O-ring and liquid nitrogen or something.
I don't know.
But once again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't know.
I don't know.
That's one of the answers.
There's a point to all this anyway. Let's see. Does Curious George have a tail? Most people, it's like a 50-50 thing. A lot of people remember him with a tail and insist that he had a tail. I don't ever remember him having a tail. I know he doesn't have a tail, and the answer is no, he does not have a tail.
That's weird because he's a monkey, but I feel like he's like a stuffed monkey, so maybe they just forgot his tail.
They found him in the jungle, and he was originally, I think he was even originally blue.
He might have been blue, yeah.
But maybe that's a false memory also.
And to all our purists out there who say monkey versus chimpanzee, this is not your podcast. This is the Beaveman's podcast, so go fuck yourself.
He's a monkey because it says he was a curious, he was a whatever
no, he's
curious monkey.
Yeah, but we're
Isn't
talking
chimpanzee
about
an ape?
I don't know.
But he calls him a monkey.
Whatever. Let's see.
All I know is, you're going to get the purists out there. It's like, and they're going to.
He was a good little monkey, but always very curious. Isn't that what every
does, but it doesn't
says?
mean that the person who wrote it was a science expert. They just decided they were going to use a little monkey. Well, and we don't know what kind of monkey Curious George was.
An asshole, naughty little
monkey.
Clearly,
he could have been the one who caused AIDS in this country.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's give that nightmare to children. If you see a monkey, it's not Curious George.
Next question: is it called Jif or Jiffy peanut butter? Ronz had an interesting answer for that, but you both essentially got it right. Do you want to tell us why you had that weird answer the first time, there, Ronz?
Because Jiffy,
popcorn.
There are two answers. There are actually two answers to that, right? Depending on where you're at in the world and how people pronounce. Did you get some Jiffy peanut butter, right? And it goes along with the slogan that they used to run with advertisements, if I remember correctly. The other reason is Jiffy is a unit of time. So it's
Yeah, but I'm not. But
Jif.
I wasn't asking what do other people call it. I was asking what is it actually called?
No.
It's actually called Jif.
Yeah.
Choosy moms.
And
I think you're confusing it with
Choosy moms.
Skippy.
No,
Choosy moms
I'm not.
choose Jif.
No.
Jif.
Jif.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was also knowing that I was applying a little logic to what.
Yeah, but I don't think they change the names of things of the same product when they put it in another country. It doesn't go in Germany and be released as Jiffy.
No, I'm not saying that, but that's what some people would call it. But
that's not what I'm.
Right?
That's specifically on the answer. I'm not asking what people call it. I'm saying what is it actually called?
What is its brand name?
But many people remember it as both.
So I don't know why they would make it as Jiffy, but that's okay. Go with them.
Anyway.
Unless I think they're confusing it with Skippy.
Or like you said,
Skippy,
Jiffy Pop that came out that it was pretty popular a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right. The Pikachu question. Does Pikachu's tail have a black tip or is it yellow? Ron said it's black. Sorry. The Swan. I'm going to go out and edit that again. 26. 32.
Okay. I don't screw.
Because I wrote it down. I put down so I could keep track of who said what. I wrote it down on my little printout. No, it's all yellow at the end.
Yay! It's like crooked like a lightning.
But a lot of people remember it as having a black tip.
I think that's because his ears have black on them. Maybe they just get confused.
You are correct.
All right. So with the Lindbergh baby. The Swan didn't know what I was talking about. She's apparently never heard of it, which I thought was odd because I thought everybody had heard of it.
Yeah, I haven't heard of it. I'm going to have to Google that.
Famous because of who her father was. Charles Lindbergh, right? Ronz, Air Force or Air Corps history
definitely.
test pilot or
Air Corps history. I think one of the first people. No. First translate. I can't.
Transatlantic.
Transatlantic solo flight.
Charles Lindbergh.
You guys are both looking.
I'm not looking. I'm looking at my paper. I can't remember. Right. Anyway, so the question was the Lindbergh baby found, or is it missing to this day? Which Ron's cleverly pointed out it would still be dead if it was, even if it had not been missing at this point, it would not be alive.
Oh, yeah.
Although it would be. It would just be like 100.
And it wouldn't be a baby.
Just like Jesus. It would no longer be the Lindbergh baby.
No longer.
No, the Lindbergh baby was found about 2 months after it was abducted. It was not alive. It was not alive.
I would hope.
What do you mean you would hope? Did you just say, I would hope it wasn't alive?
Yeah. Well, I feel rather morbid for saying that because I don't remember any of the history that I remember reading about the baby still being alive.
You're right. And I read about it too. Not that maybe like a year ago, I kind of read something briefly on it and it was the same thing. I kept thinking that it was still missing, but then I also read something later on that said, no, they found the baby like 2 months later.
Wow. I had no idea.
All right. Next question from the game Monopoly Monopoly. Does Rich Uncle Pennybags wear a monocle? Ronz said yes. And Swan said no. And Swan is correct. Rich Uncle Pennybags has never worn a monocle, but most people, a good percentage of people, remember him as wearing a monocle. Here's the next common one. And with the Berenstain Bears, was it spelled Stain as an S-T-A-I-N or Stein or Steen S-T-I-N? Now, I've always pronounced it the Berenstain Bears. Or the Berenstain Bears. I've pronounced it both. But if you asked me how it was spelled, I would have said it was spelled S-T-I-N, but pronounced Stain. It's actually spelled S-T-A-I-N. So you both got it wrong.
Ooh, A.
But that's common. Lots of people who grew up with them. Obviously, I don't know how the whole world is, but in this country, most of us know who they are. So we've all been exposed to it several times, yet most of us spell it wrong.
Well, interesting.
Well, maybe I have it confused with Sam Bernstein, the lawyer that you saw commercials for over
how do you
and over
spell
and
that?
over again, and it does have it.
Do you?
With an E.
E-N-E?
Yeah, I'm like 100.
E-I-N?
No, S-T.
I don't have that confused with anything.
The only thing I have confusion with is Berenstain. That's it. I think what I think is, I think that I thought that they were, that family name is German, and that's why it would have been spelled Stin.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So we talked about the movie Gremlins, and Ronz quickly pointed out, well, we had to think about it. We couldn't remember what the original Mogwai's name was, and it's Gizmo.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So we remember the evil gremlin. Was it named Spike or Stripe? And Ronz said Spike, and the Swan said Stripe. And the answer is, and I actually got this one right also, is Stripe. If you remember, he had a weird stripe through his hair.
Yeah, his white hair on the top, like a white mohawk.
But again, lots of people remember it as both, one or the other. Here we go with the one who tells us that we could prevent forest fires. Was he Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear? And Ron said Smokey the Bear, and Swan said Smokey Bear.
And that actually comes from, by the way, smoke him if you got him, because he was in the military. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all.
He doesn't want you smoking in the woods.
I almost might have believed you, but yeah.
It's actually because he does a lot of smoking of meat.
Smoked meat.
No, it's just Smokey Bear. Like his last name is Bear. There is no but you can be clever on it like I am and say, but isn't he a bear? So if you're just saying his name and you reference him and you're like, hey, it's Smokey the Bear.
The Bear.
But no, people remember it both ways. Chartreuse, shade of pink or shade of green? Ron said shade of pink, and
he said, I'm colorblind, I don't even know.
Shade of green. It is a shade of green, Ronz.
Oh, wow. So all that wine I've been calling chartreuse is probably spoiled.
I think that's Chardonnay.
Oh, Chardonnay. Wow. Yeah. Wow.
And finally, the one that I asked that I find the most interesting is, with a wonderful world of Disney, when Tinkerbell flies out, does she write the Disney and then dot the I? Both of you were kind of not sure. You were thinking that she probably did. Now, I will tell you that I have very vivid memories of two different ways of Tinkerbell doing it. I swear to all that is sacred and holy that Tinkerbell used to fly out, write the entire word of Disney, and then dot the I with her wand. I also have memories of her flying out and tracing the Mickey Mouse ears and then hitting it with her wand. But neither one have ever happened.
Wow.
And I watched a 15-minute video from showing the original, all the intros that they've had up until this point, and none of them have what I just described. Yet there's...
So your brain made it up, your fantasy
but
of
there's
Tinkerbell.
A lot of people that have the same exact memory that I have.
So is it a conspiracy theory on Matrix?
Possibly.
Where you see an object and you think it's a certain way, but it's never been
so
that way? And the other people are convinced that way?
So who knows? That's why I wanted to play the game. So it's people have shared collection of erroneous memories. But then again, it's like, are they erroneous memories or did they really happen?
Who knows? And in this day and age of conspiracy theories on the internet, maybe it did happen and they're just trying to erase all the traces of it.
Well, the Mandela effect, or the term the Mandela effect, was coined actually in like a Comic-Con where people had all these same sort of things. And the one who's credited as having done the most accessible information on it and collecting everyone's crap is Fiona Broom. So you can actually check her out on the Mandela Effect website. She's got, and you can read her collection of stuff. She's made everything free. She makes no profit off of it. As long as you have Kindle, you can kind of download that stuff. And she puts like nice little definitions and tells about how they kind of first started talking about it. So she defines it as what happens when someone has a clear memory of something that never happened in this reality. And I like how she put this reality. Even though she doesn't like really say that there's conspiracy, she acknowledges that there's conspiracy theories and all this other stuff out there, but she's really just putting out the information that she's collected over time. So she doesn't really get into all that stuff.
So like your brain's reality
is it
something
though?
Different, maybe. Or
is it
really
Swan?
different?
Is that what's really going on?
I don't know.
So
I
listen,
don't know.
it's
I've
so
been telling you my theory about infinity
all right, so listen,
for a long time.
This is why they call it the Mandela effect, because lots of people share a memory of South African President Nelson Mandela dying in a prison years before his actual death, complete with a televised funeral. I remember that. I distinctly remember a televised funeral of Nelson Mandela's death, and I think it was like in the 80s or 90s that I have that memory from, and it never happened. He didn't die till 2013.
I was going to say he never died in a prison.
And this is the really crazy thing, is I can remember that funeral, but I can also remember seeing him on TV alive years later.
Or someone that looked like him.
Possibly.
Or really him. Yeah, that's really crazy.
People have all these vivid memories of things that never occurred, but did it really never occur? Or are we living in the Matrix or something else bizarre? So why did so many people have false memories? So after doing...
Is it like
the same false
shared
memories?
false
That's really
memories
weird too. Yeah.
And it's not just, it's not like a recent thing. This has been going on forever, because you could kind of understand why people would have false memories, because we are so, even though we're out of touch with the person who lives to the left and right of us, we can read opinions and be exposed to social media and be exposed to all kinds of information more than we ever could. But this isn't a new phenomenon. This has been going on for a long time.
Well, I could see that where we want to believe so badly that it happens. Sort of like, your first girlfriend, it's like, or your first love, it's like, oh, we're going to stay forever. And it just doesn't happen.
Doesn't yours?
Right?
Didn't yours?
Oh, yeah.
You're married
first
to yours.
girlfriend?
Yeah, I married mine. I got lucky. Yeah.
Didn't you marry the first girl you ever kissed, Ronz?
No.
Did you marry the first girl that ever allowed you to kiss her?
Yeah, I guess Carrie would be my first girlfriend.
What about that girl in Canada?
Yes, I did. What do you mean allowed? Now you're making it sound creepy. It's like, well, she allowed. No. I married my one and true love, Carrie. Yeah. So if she's listening, I still have to cook. So hopefully this will get me suck up points, and all that. But yeah, I got to marry the woman I love. So
have you ever experienced anything like that? I mean, just the stuff that we just read off. I mean, a lot of it's pretty common, but was there anything that made you guys just stick in your head? They're like, no, I'm dead certain it's like this.
All the time when I'm doing something and I'm thinking, yeah, like the monocle on Mr. Moneybags or
Rich Uncle Pennybags,
the character. Yeah, I had to look at that. I actually looked it up, and I was looking through all these images, and not one has a monocle that he's wearing. He might be holding one or two, but he's not wearing it. Right?
I think that's his. You mean that where he's got like a cord hanging down? I'm pretty sure that's his watch.
Yeah.
But does that even exist?
Yeah, it's like a pocket watch.
Is there a pocket watch chain?
Yeah. Does anything exist?
But what happened with Tinkerbell? You never answered that. Like, what happened? The intro.
Oh, she never dots the I. There's never any point in time where she dots the I. Not only does she not dot the I,
but does she write it?
Never writes it either. Never traces Mickey Mouse ears. None of that stuff. And
so she just flies out there and
the ones
does
that Ronz and I probably would have remembered the most, she does fly out and she smacks her wand all over the place, and like bursts of color come out,
and like stars go all over,
that sort of thing, or she'll zip off and like hit something. But in the intros that as I watched throughout the years, the closest she comes is she does at one point on when Disney's written out. She never writes it out. I think there's one where she flies out and it writes out after her as she's flying. But the closest she comes is she hits her wand near the end. That's the closest she comes.
Well, I've got one intro where she just flies out. You're right about 90% of that, where she actually at the end dots the I. Right? She smacks her wand in the little.
No, I just said that she doesn't do that. There's no point in time when she smacks it over the I.
Yeah, I'm looking at an intro right now
No,
that she does.
The only time she comes close is by the end. I saw no intro where she dots the I.
I could send it to you, and
good
you
because
could
I
tell me.
vividly remember her doing it. But I watched.
But this, hold on. In your defense, though, this is modern, not old, right? Here it is. She's going over an arc, and then she just smacks it and dots the I. But this is CGI. So are we talking about older?
Well, see, now this is the
modern?
other thing, right? Because I watched. Someone requested this videographer to see if they would make a video of all of Disney's intros from the time that they started televising from the Wonderful World of Disney. And they made it and they labeled it throughout the years. And none of them showed what I said. None of them shows dotting the I. And then if you go on YouTube also and it's because the whole Tinkerbell thing is a big thing with the Mandela effect because so many people remember her doing that, but she didn't. And you can find videos that show her doing it. But people say those are made by somebody else and not made by Disney, and there wouldn't have been.
You're exactly right. I just scrolled down. It says, disclaimer, this is intended for entertainment only. We know that the video was created with visual effects by this company. So you know what? You are right. You're absolutely right. This was secondhand. But does that add to the Mandela effect? Yeah, it does. Now that you've seen it, and like me, I'm arguing my point. You're like, no, it doesn't exist. Well, someone actually brought it into existence, but it's not with the main company itself. So does it exist? Yeah. But is it from the main company?
Right. And
no.
Is it from my memory as watching the Wonderful World of Disney on Sunday night wearing my onesie pajamas? No. Because what I believe existed didn't exist. Disclaimer, I would have been like, and now it's going to with my onesie pajamas, by the way.
The ones that catch on fire when you
rub them on your blanket and they would spark.
Yeah.
Spontaneous combustion. But now that it's been some company made this, now is it going to implant itself and replace what you think?
Possibly.
Right. So now it becomes reality.
And then you can look at a lot of comments too where people were saying, well, if you pull up the VHSs and the beta versions and stuff like that, and you could find stuff, and they had one that's kind of close, but yet you could tell it might not have been real either because the Disney was like in red, and there were comments underneath it and saying, no, I vividly remember Disney, the letters being in blue, or I vividly remember them being like this. I remember them being gold because she was writing it.
I was going to say I thought they were gold
but it didn't happen. Or did it?
Well, who knows? Maybe we are just all living in
Matrix?
Some messed up bubble that, somebody fucks with our world when they don't get the answer they want.
And Disney did have the budget to fake a moon landing, right? So I think somewhere out there's a logo with the moon landing of Tinkerbell flying over the spacecraft and dotting the I. Okay. I love when Swan and you just go dead silent, like, okay. Yeah. Because that really adds to what I'm trying to contribute to dead silence.
Well, you know what? Your contribution to dead silence was spot on. You did indeed contribute to the dead silence of the podcast. Way to go.
Ron. Go Ron.
Yeah, way to go.
I think a lot of them, though, are just plays on words. I mean, that's not a big deal. But when it's a visual memory that's hardwired into your brain, that's when it's freaking crazy. Like for me, I swear that I saw the funeral for Nelson Mandela, and I swear that that's what Tinkerbell did. The rest of them are like not a big deal. I don't think it's a big deal that some people remember Curious George as having a tail and some don't, or that some people think Pikachu has a black tip to the end of the tail. That stuff I don't think is a big deal because that's easy scrambling in your brain.
A little blip, yeah. So whose funeral did you watch? Or was there one not at all?
I don't know.
Really? You made it up completely, or there was a funeral of someone else that you just
and then it goes on time of how old you are also, because I'm sure that I was an adolescent when with that memory. So it's not like I was a little kid with that memory.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have been over. My guess is I would have been over the age of 12.
I would also say that it depends on how much you pay attention to it too. I mean, like with Curious George having we're all having children. We grew up with those books, reading those to our kids, or at least having our kids look at that book so we would remember that. But Pikachu is more pop culture, and if we don't pay attention to it, it's kind of in passing. So, you got a 50-50 chance of getting that right. Monopoly, while that is a physical game, do you remember, playing the game so much that you pay attention to the small
but I
details?
think so, though, because if you think about it, Rich Uncle Pennybags was on everything on that board, and isn't he on the money also?
Yeah, but that game usually, like I said, turns into a physical game of who got what. It's like pieces go flying, people attitude, and at that point, you don't care about.
Well, I have a theory as to why.
You just argue over who gets to play the car piece.
I have a theory as to why a lot of people remember him as having a monocle.
Why is that?
Because of Mr. Peanut. Mr. Peanut was everywhere and also wore a top hat and had a cane, but he had a monocle. So when you think of the two things that you would see very frequently, which would be back in the day, obviously not modern times, but back in the day, if you were playing Monopoly as one of your sources of entertainment and everybody had Planters Peanuts and Mr. Peanut was on commercials all the time in black and white. And even at our house, I think my parents still have a collectible Mr. Peanut piggy bank. So you see the top hat and then you're like, oh, of course, Rich Uncle Pennybags has a monocle because Mr. Peanut has one. Because I can't imagine Mr. Peanut without a monocle.
So
now I'm wondering, does he have one?
What I said earlier.
Wait a minute. Yeah, he's got one, right? Mr. Peanut?
I don't know.
Yeah, but going back to what I said earlier, it's pop culture and what do you remember about the pop culture of that time. And Monopoly, Mr. Peanut are probably one of the same. I mean, they kind of probably played off each other as far as advertisements. So whenever you went into a store or a game or a toy section where they have the board games, you're like, it would, and I don't like using this word. It would trigger that. Oh, I need to buy peanut butter, or you see.
No, but that is because marketing is psychological.
Marketing bitches. Yeah,
it's supposed to be marketing.
Like when
bitches.
you get on me. Yeah, like when you get on me. You spelled that wrong, Ronz. And I'm like, I got you to read it though.
Do you remember the Cheetos, the cheetah, Chester Cheetah?
Chester Cheetah, yeah, I do that.
I always think he wears tennis shoes because he runs. What color is tennis shoes?
I think they're white.
But somewhere I think they're white too. But somewhere I think that they're red. Like in my head,
but so you asked us, but you didn't have an answer for us. Now so we're not like, well, are they white?
No, they are white. But then you think about what other things came out at that age. Like Sonic's shoes are red. Yeah. And it's it shows they both have big giant tennis shoes, like big giant white tipped, whatever Converse style tennis shoes. But Sonic's
in modern times, Sonic is wearing Pumas.
Okay, he might be wearing Pumas now, but probably back in the day, he was wearing some Converse.
I don't know. Not if he was running. Honestly, not if he was running, he wasn't.
No, probably not.
Twist an ankle.
Anyway, but something like that.
Yeah, but
yeah, it's more equated to pop culture.
Well, I was trying to figure out the other reasons why I would remember Rich Uncle Pennybags with a monocle also. And so I texted my brother and I said, hey, do you remember that game that my parents had that was either like a game from the 50s or 60s or the guy where you spent all your money? So it was the opposite of Monopoly. You tried to, it was called Go for Broke. That was the name of the game. And I'm like, and it had a person on it that was kind of like Rich Uncle Pennybags, same thing, top hat, whatever. And that guy wears a monocle. I don't know how popular that game was. And my older brother didn't even remember the game. So apparently he's losing it, but it does exist because I looked it up.
Popular if you're the only one that remembers it. And back to your credit, did the game actually exist?
I looked it up. It exists.
No, it does.
Oh, if it's on the internet, then it's got to be true.
No, you can buy it. You can buy it. You can actually buy the vintage one. I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that much fun, but there's obviously that's probably part of the reason why that's stuck in my head. But the other thing is that, when people are looking at like this as a conspiracy theory, kind of like Ron said, that's cute and it's fun to think about, which it is, but just from a purely scientific basis, I guess, not that I'm a neurologist or I understand that much about the brain, but your brain fills in memories because we can't have blank spots. So the example that I use with people is, okay, go outside and stare off in the distance. Does your vision drop off to where there's just black nothingness? No, because even though you can't see 10 miles in front of you, you do still see. Your brain just fills everything in. It doesn't matter that you can't see that far. There's no blank space. And it's the same thing with your memories. Even if you don't remember something, your brain can rewrite things. That's why people also have false memories or suppressed memories, or you can remember stuff whether it happened or not.
Yeah, well, and then it's your perception. Like if you asked your sibling, do you remember that one time we went here? They have a totally different memory of that. We went here. It might have similar things, but then they fill in parts that might be different, or you don't remember, or they experienced it differently too, right?
So you just basically, your brain fills in what it thinks it needs to complete the picture.
Yeah.
Sort of like if you're going on a trip with the Beaveman, and you go, I need to take a left up here. And it's like, no, we're going right. So which one of you is right when you get lost? So filling in that blank.
Okay.
And I would expect that the Beaveman is always right because he would know which way to go.
They've done those comparison studies where, I guess if you knew any law enforcement officers, you could ask them this for verification. But they say that if you have 4 eyewitnesses that watch a minor fender bender, if they were standing on the sidewalk and they watch a car hit another car, that you'll get 4 different stories as to the perception of what actually happened. And 75% of them could be actually wrong, even if you videotaped it and they tell you what it is backward, that it's actually wrong, how they remember it.
I remember reading up on that study. That is interesting too, right? And when you think about how it progresses as far as filling in the puzzle pieces, I here's a side question to that, is how many conspiracy theories are born out of as your brain tries to fill in those puzzle pieces? Right? Did it really happen? And I like to think I'm a person of logic. I like to look at the entire picture, get a little background information, really deep dive into something and see if it actually exists, right? And to see that if I can, really dive into it and see if anybody has a collective reasoning on it. And sometimes I'm proven wrong, sometimes I'm proven right. So with that said, I mean, how often does that happen, and how often does it lead to conspiracy theories?
Everything that you just said, no, just kidding, was completely wrong. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you know what? And someone would agree with you, but there's going to be someone out there going, "Oh, maybe."
Well, just the difference. There's a major difference. People use the word conspiracy theory or the phrase conspiracy theory erroneously all the time. Well, because some people say a conspiracy theory, really what they're describing is a conspiracy. Conspiracy theory is a theory based on a conspiracy. It's not the same thing.
Ooh, you're smarter than me. I know that. Wow. So where'd you come up with that bit of logic?
Nothing that I say is unique. Mostly everything that I say is learned.
By definition.
Is learned information. As I was telling my sister-in-law yesterday, who asked me a medical question, I gave her all the information that I could, and then I said, but don't ask me because I'm not an expert. And then I said after that, now that I think about it, I'm not an expert at anything. The only thing that I might be an expert at is not being an expert at anything.
However, you're still more expert than she is.
True, but she's also not going to listen to what I said, most likely. Because nobody does.
What qualifies
and
as
rightly
an expert,
so. No one should listen to me.
What qualifies as an expert?
I honestly don't know anymore, Ronz. I know that.
Yeah, do you think anybody is truly an expert at anything?
I do believe there are some experts out there who are at the top of their field. However, if their field keeps evolving or changing constantly, they have to stay on top of it.
Right, that's what you just said at the top of their field. So therefore, you just contraindicated yourself as well.
The word is contradicted.
Contradicted?
Hey, don't correct her. She could be
she
right.
uses that. She uses it erroneously all the time. It's not contraindicated. Contraindicated is something different. In other words, I don't suggest you do that. It's contraindicated. In other words, it's not indicated. It is contra to it. Much like the Iran-Contra affair. Get it? No? Yes? Maybe?
I got it. Hey-oh, I got it.
But the other thing is, we have these snippets of memory, and you wonder where they come from. So obviously our brain just makes them up for part of it. I do like the idea, though, of there are things that actually happen. Maybe it's an alternate reality. Maybe there is interactions between us and an alternate universe all the time. I think that's possible. I was telling Ronz that in the Swan that before. I said, I think that's where ghosts come from.
Maybe.
They slip in and out of our alternate realities. Maybe that's where we actually go. Maybe that's where we actually go when we die, is to an alternate universe. And that's when we slip back and forth in. We're like, hey.
So where do all those theories come from, like the Flash and all that? Because there's alternate, or like the superheroes have alternate universes and realities. So someone made that shit up in their brain, or is it real?
Well, it's more to the multiverse theory or the multi-string multiverse theory.
So you're saying the comic book writers got their ideas from Einstein?
Some of them did, actually. Right? They took the idea where there could be multiple realities. So we've got you and the Swan in the medical field in one universe, this universe, and then in a next universe, you two could be completely divorced and in the medical field. Right? Yeah, and in one universe that she is the president and you're the janitor, right? So I think Batman actually explored this.
It's called Flashpoint.
Right?
The paradox.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's a flash-based comic. In that one, Bruce Wayne is actually dead. He's the one who got killed. Him and his mom, and his dad is Batman, and he's a badass Batman. He shoots people and fucking kills them.
Thomas Wayne. I was thinking more of when he takes on the owl who goes back to the 0 point of consciousness.
Are you talking about Court of Owls
and tries to
type stuff?
No, not the Court of Owls. I think you're right. And once again, we'll do the Mandela effect, or what I think I remember is where there is one person where the counterpart to Batman is just, he doesn't care for humanity. He thinks humanity is just
you're talking about Dark Metal. You're talking about the Dark Metal series.
Waste. No, this is before the Dark Metal series, right? And it's an animation. I think who voiced it was James Wood, who voiced the owl. And he goes back to where all consciousness originated from on Earth, and he's going to blow up point 0.
You have to figure out what the name of that is and send it to me, because I enjoy a good DC animated, but not so much the movies.
I could. But he's like, okay, if you look at it, this is where it all originated from. And I do believe you're right on that aspect of what it might be. But at the end, when Batman wins and he's going to, they change the trajectory, or the exploding or whatever it was, and the owl is about to die. He's like, whatever, and boom, right? So it's just
now I don't even need to watch it. I feel like the description was obviously probably really super spot on. So now I probably don't even need to watch that. But let me give it.
No, it was okay. It was.
But if you send it to him anyway.
Yeah, it was Crisis on Two Earths.
Yeah. See, I've never read that one. Okay. Now, but that came out. Did that come out before the Flashpoint Paradox? The Flashpoint Paradox, or after?
I would say before the comic, but the Flashpoint Paradox was in 1990, 1980,
Oh, that one's badass. And apparently that's what the Flash movie is going to be sort of based on. So we'll see if they fuck it up, because DC likes to fuck up shit. As you can tell by watching Zack Snyder's release of the Justice League, that was far better than the one that we got in theaters. Ridiculous.
I have not seen it. I've heard.
So I have another question then. Do you think that people's near-death experiences are a blip into those alternate realities?
Please explain more. Please describe more.
Fascinating.
You know how people, if they're clinically dead and they come back and they tell you they have their near-death experiences where they've seen this, this, and this, and they can give you a good description of where they were the whole time they were dead, but they also see their own body.
You would understand that slightly more probably than the Ronz and I, because I've not ever really heard any stories about that, because my patients in the emergency room either lived and then I handed them off to somebody else who, when they subsequently might have died or had a close encounter.
Well,
I've actually watched a few.
Oh yeah, well that's way more. So. That's way more beneficial. Why don't you tell us your story as opposed to the Swans that was there firsthand? Go ahead, Ronz.
No.
So,
I was just going to say I was going to back her off.
I can tell you.
Yes, why don't you give us your fourth hand information as opposed to the Swans who can
that you watched on TV.
Give it to us second hand. Go ahead, Ronz. No,
I remember I had a.
No.
We're just going to overlap Ronz.
Wow, the Ronz sounds like the Swan. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So I can tell you a story that I heard from somebody and then another like firsthand seen it. So the person that I know for sure it happened to was our former neighbor. We'll call her Anne, who went in for surgery. She came out of surgery. She was in her room recovering, like they had her on the regular floor and everything, and her heart stopped. They did CPR on her and brought her back. And she said that the whole time that she did it, she saw herself getting CPR done and she heard the conversation. But she was clinically dead, had no heartbeat, for several minutes. And she said they were talking to her and she knows exactly what they said and gave back conversation of what they said to her. But also has an experience of what she saw, like, her, like the white tunnel and all that stuff, like the vision of people telling her to go back. Like she said that she saw people who were already dead who were telling her it's not her time to go back. So that's crazy to me. Like, did that really happen?
Well,
or does your brain
a lot of people say that your brain makes it up. Obviously, people that don't believe in, they try to rationalize everything because for one thing, even if her heart stops, the electrical activity still continues in the brain.
I was just going to mention that. It's like, you haven't really, the brain's not really shut down. If they have her on oxygen, so you're still getting oxygen to the brain, right?
Not really. If your brain is not, your body is not pumping
her with that is what the point of CPR is. Yes. They're perfusing her body with oxygenated blood. They're keeping the heart. So the brain activity would still continue. And even though
would still have an electrical
even though it's 1/1000th of a second or however fast synapses fire in the brain, that time can be slowed down by the brain. The brain can fill in that period of time. Not saying that I believe that that's what happened, because I do believe in the other. I don't just believe in science because, science is just magic we haven't explained yet. No, it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be.
I kind of believe that a little bit. The other way around, yeah.
It's just sorcery. It's all sorcery.
So, I believe that person is a reputable source of telling their experience and will tell you exactly what happened, and that is not making it up. And then you put in there, is that a religious thing or,
because she's highly religious. So did her brain already put that memory in there as a protective mechanism, or did it really happen, or was it going to really happen?
Well, on that note, when I watched the videos on life after death, or life during death, if you want to call it that, one guy said in this video I watched, and it was just a short blurb, but it's like he said that, he wasn't very spiritual or religious. He was just spiritual, he knows there's something out there. And he was at this place and they said, okay, he wasn't feel good. It's like, well, we got to get you to hospital. And, long story short, they took him to the hospital and I guess he was having a heart attack or anything and he died. And he said he went to, he woke up, and when he woke up or regained consciousness, he was what he said.
Spit it out, motherfucker.
Consciousness. Yeah. Anyway, he was, there was this person with him and he says, who are you? And it's like, well, whatever you are. It's like, can I see your face? And the guy said, if you stay and look at my face, you can't go back. But if you have any questions, I'll ask you. I'll answer them. And he asked one question. He says, my God, I think I'm speaking to God. What do I ask him? And he says, I got so many questions. And he said this entity put his arm around him. And he said he felt like this emotional wave of love so strong. He says, you know what? You will come back and we will talk and I'll answer every question you ever have. Until then, you have to go back now. Right. And as he regained consciousness, came back out, they saw him, you had died. And then he became, and if I remember correctly about the video, he says, at that point, I became very spiritual, right? Very religious. I started reading the Bible and everything.
Wow, that was super interesting.
What you said earlier as we shut down,
I will entitle this podcast "Ramblings of a Madman."
Yeah, Ramblings of a Madman. But
so then,
what do we remember?
I'm gonna you remember that it was a book, and I think they made it into a movie.
Was it about money
Heaven is for real? No, fuck off, Ronz. No, it was like Heaven is for real, and it's about a little boy who I think he had appendicitis or something, but his parents were pastors.
This is the rewrite though, and they removed the R.
He died.
Heaven is faux real.
The R from what? Faux real, yeah. But anyway, so the kid died during his surgery. I don't know. I think it was appendicitis or something. And he came back and he said he saw Jesus and God and described it all. And then they were like the parents were exploiting him basically. So did they make it up or did they feed this kid with memories, or did that kid really have those memories? And then
yeah, well, there's a lot of that out there, right? All the whole false memory thing where people will get convicted of crimes because someone remembers them something doing, and then 10 years later you find out that it was somebody else who committed the crime, but it was just a false memory in that person's head that this person committed the crime. That happens quite a bit.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
Or false memories implanted in children.
It's sort of like, having a great relationship with your first girlfriend, and you realize, no, wasn't
you're
that
married.
Great.
Jeez, you married her. God, what is? Why do you keep bringing up Why do you keep bringing up the first girlfriend memories? I'm just curious. What?
He's just trying to let us think that he's had multiple girlfriends. I don't know
why.
Yeah,
no, you're right. I just wanted to see. I wanted to be like the Beaveman, a player of the field, suave.
Well, I don't know who you're talking about because it wasn't me.
Musculars.
That's an interesting. I just want to ask this question that's kind of off topic because he keeps bringing up the first girlfriend. Who was your first girlfriend, Ronz? How old were you, and who do you consider your first girlfriend? You don't have to say their name, but just is there one that you have in mind that's your picture in your head of your actual first girlfriend? Quickly.
Actually, it's like, I don't know if, it was so long ago, like last year.
Okay, serious question
before.
then.
I don't know.
So then we'll let Ronz think about it because he's being an a-hoo. How about you, Swans? How old were you, and what do you consider to be your first boyfriend?
I mean, I had a first crush boyfriend when I was like probably 15-ish years old, and I remember it was a brief, probably less than 6 months of went out every couple because he didn't go to my school. So went out maybe once or twice a month when it was allowed, and I got dumped on my 16th birthday because I wouldn't have sex with him.
Okay.
But that would be my first.
That's not what I asked. What I said was, in your mind, when you think about who your first boyfriend or girlfriend was, okay, apparently neither one of you get it. So I'm going to say in my mind. So if anybody ever asks me, who was my first...
I didn't have any kindergarten boyfriends or girlfriends, so that was my first boyfriend.
You didn't actually have a crush on anybody or have somebody in a cute little puppy love relationship until you were 15 years old. Okay.
Yes.
That's pretty normal for some people.
All right.
Like, boys didn't interest me in that way. I grew up with all of my friends being boys, so I didn't have a boyfriend.
Well, by definition,
platonic friends
for me, because I was about to tell my story before you went on your tangent.
Well, I was just telling you why I got to that point. My friends were boys. So, yeah, I didn't have any
so if anybody
friends.
asks me, or even when they, how that's one of your security questions on who was your first girlfriend or whatever, even though it wasn't what most people would consider a, quote, relationship, I always think of my first girlfriend as the person that I had the puppy love crush on when I was in kindergarten.
Okay, yeah, then that's good for you.
That's who I always put down. Whether she was ever my girlfriend at all is irrelevant because she never really was, except when we were really, really little, and that's it. So that's who I always write down.
So would the daughter's first boyfriend be her preschool child that she came home and she said, Ethan and I practiced kissing today?
It would be whoever you say is, but I was just trying to get people not to. Whenever I ask you guys questions, you sit there and hem and haw about stuff. Why is it that your brains don't fire as fast as mine? What the fuck is wrong with you two?
I think my brain fires as fast as it needs to. Probably not slow. My first, if you want to go back that far, then it would be probably
okay. Well, stop doing
Sheila,
what you're doing over there.
If I remember correctly.
It looks obscene.
Oh, okay. I'm in this rocker chair, so sort of like Tremonde when he's dancing.
Okay, so
like when Tremonde was dancing.
It's your rhythm. It's all wrong.
It was probably kindergarten. Sheila was her name, but that's as far as I can remember. I mean, beyond that, I don't remember anything.
Now, would that person say? Do you think your memories are accurate? Would that person say that that's who your first?
Oh no, I don't think my memories are accurate. Period. On that, I mean, you're talking about kindergarten. I mean, back when back in the day. I mean, if you want to use that phrase, I mean, would she remember me? I'm so far removed from all these memories that have either gotten replaced or repressed with other things that I probably don't even show up on.
Right, and your memories of what actually happened are probably replaced with memories that didn't actually happen.
I don't even. The only thing I remember was her name,
and maybe that's not even right.
I couldn't tell you what. Yeah, you know what? And you could be right. I could be making this up. I went to half the schools I went to don't exist anymore. So if there was any way to back this up, I would be
interested to find out if what I considered my first girlfriend considers me her first girlfriend. And if she has those like happy little memories of me also, even though I can't, when you remember back to stuff, a lot of times you can't think of an exact tangible memory, but you can remember how you felt. But you can't specifically remember any period of time where we did anything together. But that was who I thought of as my first little girlfriend.
So you could probably look her up.
No, she's my friend.
She's my friend on social media. Find her. Oh. Well,
I should ask her. That would be kind of fun.
You should. Don't feed it to her. Just ask her. Hey, do you remember kindergarten? What are your memories of that?
And the Swan brings up a good effect. What if we feed the information to somebody to make them believe it happened?
I think that's very possible.
It's not is that part of the Mandela
Maybe because
effect?
You can't stop your brain.
So are you saying you probably have
and unlike you two, if someone starts talking to me, my brain automatically starts processing that information. So and you can't stop your brain from processing that information. So will it fill in some blanks?
Probably. And clearly yours does it better than ours.
Just a question.
Maybe that makes you more of a psychopath.
I don't think so. I think that makes me able to think quickly.
Or we just protect ourselves that much more. I mean, with the Mandela effect.
Is that going to be your term now? Now he's going to be like, now from now on in all the other podcasts, he's going to be like, if you look at the theory of the Mandela effect. Well, yeah, what was the other one you wouldn't stop talking about?
I have no idea, but maybe you could fill in the blank and I could Mandela that into my brain.
Well, I'm sure we're
Oh, see how that works?
What was it? It was, now I can't even remember. We talked about it forever, and he was like, it was the blah, blah, blah theory that, oh, damn, I don't remember, but you used that for probably 4 or 5
It was the one that we did more than one podcast out about because I felt like you guys still didn't understand what the fuck I was talking about. I still feel like they don't understand.
But see, now we can't think of it. That's crazy.
And we collectively can't think about it.
Well,
that's fucked up, isn't it? We had a whole conversation about it, and now it's gone.
But it's sort of like an actor. What an actor does, it's like they memorize one script, and when they move on to the next project, they dump that part of the brain, erase it.
Did you seriously just compare yourself to someone who's actually memorizing something? Because I'm not sure that I've known you to memorize. Anything that we've done, if that makes any sense.
Is that why your brain can remember songs? Like if you hear it on the radio, you can know all the words to it, but
don't exist.
Don't know.
Yeah, nothing like a mediocre podcast.
Yeah, those two. But then you can remember. You can't remember. You don't even think of the song until it plays.
Hold up. I hear the Beaveman trying to go back through previous podcasts right now, trying to remember what I kept on mentioning.
Dunning-Kruger effect. That's
he's
going to
say Mandela effect a million times now. No, but Swan, you were making
so
you
with the Dunning-Kruger,
you were making a good point, though, Swan.
Yeah, you were.
So you don't remember a song, like you can't think of whatever song that you used to be one of your favorite songs back in the day, but if it comes on, you know all the words to it.
Like I said, or you know the words that are wrong.
Or that you think that, Mm-hmm.
Are they really wrong if you remember them because they're right to you?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look up the lyrics.
Well, Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza doesn't
that one
exist.
Song?
But everybody
What's that one
sings
song by? I can't remember who it is, but it sounds so weird, but they're saying jet airliner.
Big air jet airliner, that one?
Yeah, but it doesn't sound like that. You're like, what the fuck are they saying? To me, it sounds like we're going to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Or how about when the Lady Gaga song came on and it was Poker Face and Baby Swan the daughter would sing it as
that
Poker
makes
Face.
Sense, though.
I think that's a lot more, yeah.
I was thinking we should do that too, about just pull out the different I was thinking that would be a fun one to do with Tremonde. Just give him a bunch of songs that are so hard to understand that we love and see if he can figure out what the lyrics are. Because Pearl Jam's very good about that. Like
without
something sung by Eddie
up.
Vedder, you're like, well, I still don't know what half the shit he says because he's like, and you're like, what did he say? I don't even know what he said. But I remember a lot of songs.
But do you know who's really good at
lyrics?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Do you know who's really good at knowing a lot of lyrics to the songs? Is the daughter. Like, how do you even know the lyrics to these songs? And they can be from the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. I know, but her brain remembers all of those. It's crazy.
I ain't gonna get her into college. No, probably not.
Probably not, but
so it's Steve Miller with the jet airliner. The lyrics are big old jet airliner.
I know, but what does it sound like?
Don't carry me too far away. Sounds like a song to me.
Ronz, you suck.
No, not really. I like I make up my own lyrics when I don't know the words.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Words.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what you remember it. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So even now when I hear that song, even though I know what he's saying, a lot of times I'll fill something else in because I'm like, I know that's what he's saying, but it doesn't sound like that. I'm going to give you that assignment.
Yeah, so just make it up. Give
you that assignment. Each one of you pick one song that you think is pretty common but hard to understand, and we'll send it to Tremonde and have him decipher it. But he can't look it up. He can't look up the lyrics. Which would be kind of fun.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be, right away. I just think about it, pick one that you really like that you know is weird or hard to understand, and we'll send it to him, and he can look it up.
All right.
Cool. All right, so now that we're wrapping up the podcast, we're going to do a little bit of house cleaning so that I can yell at the Ronz.
Okay.
Yeah, you haven't yelled at him much today.
Ronz, you asked
that would be me.
Probably over 2 months ago now to do a podcast and to invite a guest on and to have your spouse on, your wife, your esposa on for this podcast. Yet at this time, we still have heard nothing from you on the plans for this podcast or when this podcast will be. Why can't you figure that shit out?
Well, that's entirely up to you.
No. What? Can somebody tell me what the point of the squad is, by the way? It is
because right now, right, getting everybody together is the one thing, right? And I've got the person mentioned that they're willing to do it. I just don't have. I'll check in to see when they're all free because everybody's got different schedules, right? Your schedule has fluctuated so much this month.
But if you plan it so many weeks in advance, it's not one of those things you can just hop into that week and be like, oh, we're going to do it this week. No, you need to actually plan it out with people so that they know ahead of time, like 3 weeks in advance. Oh, we're going to do it this week. We've got everything coordinated. So people, people who have to make schedules can make a schedule.
Oh, that's
so
that
do
word.
you think that we just need to assign Ronz
No,
a
because
date,
that would be,
you know what?
I
understand what the Beaveman's saying. I really do. I dropped the ball on this. I'm willing to take the responsibility of what I've done, and I will start coordinating.
And as a
however,
go ahead.
The however is the variable is you, right?
No, you know his schedule.
No,
he
I
already
don't.
gave you. Yes.
No,
oh my
this
God.
month I know it, but but it also changes
I also said
too.
Through April 14th, this is my schedule.
Okay.
So make it happen before April 14th.
See, April 15th was the due date.
Yes, okay. technically,
for your taxes.
Actually, didn't the taxes get moved?
Yes, it did.
The point is, so 2 squad members that are here present right now, tell me what the point of me assembling this squad was. One of the key factors or key points.
So you could say you have friends?
But do I though?
No. Do you want medical attention for that burner?
No, we were watching an episode of the Hoarders, and you know how they always talk to other people other than the Hoarder, and like the first 2 people on there were like, I'm so-and-so is my friend. And then they did this description, and then the next person was like, I'm so-and-so is my friend. And the Swan goes, wow, this lady is a Hoarder and she has more friends than you.
Ow.
I mean, she lived in complete and utter filth and had reputable looking, nice friends. I'm like,
you know what really gets me is usually the Beaveman is coming down. Usually the Beaveman's coming down on me pretty hard.
I've never come down on you hard. I've never come down on you.
Okay. But to have the Swan just kind of like circumnavigate, come up and do a sneak attack from behind. I mean, wow. Hopefully that clap is showing up. Yes, it is.
There we go. Her to do a sneak attack from behind, and she hasn't done it yet.
Hi-yo. So anyway, no, the point of the squad is so that you don't always have to be the coordinator, so that the rest of the members of the squad could independently do a podcast if the Beaveman is not around. Or the squad can also get ideas or guests or topics, so that it's always not up to you to have.
I don't want to be the one who comes up with the topics all the time. I've been doing this for a few years now, and generally every topic has been my topic.
Not every
I've had some topics.
Yeah. Look who's
you just berate them and tell us they suck. But it's okay.
I agree with the Swan. You know, every time we come up,
your preparation for your topics that you do yourselves, I'm like, okay, let's go, and you're like, what am I supposed to say? I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
Well, you know, the thing is, you know, a good leader.
Who's that? Who's is that me?
No, yours is a beefier voice.
A good leader tells us,
I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Somebody please give me something to eat.
You know, a good leader knows how to lead or follow.
Asshole.
Right? And every time we come up with something, and I'll back the Swan up, that sucks, or we'll go with that, and then you go dead, right? You're like, okay, that's good. I mean, the participation from other members sometimes, and I'll agree with you on that, Beaveman, is dead sometimes. Like, hey, let's talk about the Batman. All right. Now, I know that topic excites you because you're a big Batman fan, but the others are like,
but then you pick who you're going to have in your podcast. Right.
It doesn't matter who I have in my podcast. Or our podcast. It's let's just go with it and see where it goes. And then you get the dead silence, right? Or it just kind of focuses its way out, and then you try to loop it back in. So you say something stupid, and then you go, that's not it. Mm-hmm. Right?
So let me get this straight then.
We go with the topic.
So you're blaming me for your ineptitude. Here's what I feel like. No, this is what I feel like happens. The rare occasions that you all come up with topics and you quote unquote prepare for it, you still expect me to introduce the topic, introduce your key points, introduce the key points, and you expect me to do the majority of the talking, even if I specifically don't prepare for your podcast because it's not my job.
No, I don't expect you to do anything other than lead us into oblivion, right? And as you said, the Ronz, you're a good filler. You know how to keep the conversation going, but I can only keep it going so much, and then you go, "Oh, interesting, okay," and then it's dead. It's dead, and I'm trying to lead us because you're like, "All right, take the lead," or you go to the Swans, take the lead, and see she's texting or looking down at something, and she's like, "Oh, what did you guys say?" Right? Yeah, say my name, and so there's this give and take. I agree in a podcast, like a radio broadcaster, it's give and take. Where do we go? Who takes over at certain points, right? And sometimes it's a natural takeover. Sometimes it's a forced takeover.
Sometimes it's a hostile takeover because you're an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's sort of like, if no one gets I like to think that if no one gets a fair voice, I like to back up. I'm like, you'll hear it on previous podcasts. Tremonde, what do you think of this? Or the Swan, what do you think? You're like, and Tremonde's great at doing what I do. He fills in and he takes over. But when there's that lull for about 5 to
there we go.
Yeah, ramblings of a madman. When there's that lull,
your answer to the question has been so prolonged. Oh, I'm going
Why
to.
don't you yell at him? You haven't yelled.
Listen to what I say. Come up with a topic. We'll discuss the topic. You take the lead, and if you fucking bobble the ball like you often do, I will pick it up. All right, but this is what I want from you, Squad members, and this is what I would love from the Slaptail Nation. Slaptail Nation, if you have any suggestions of stuff that you want me to yell at the Ronz about, or that you would like to talk about in a podcast, let's just do it. And just remember this, Ronz and Swan, that not all members of the squad have to be available for every single podcast. So don't twit out and want to do. And don't twit out and want to do all kinds of bro hugs and all kinds of other things that you want to do, Ron, just because Tremonde's not on the podcast.
That bro hug was just meant for you and Tremonde, right? Actually, it was meant for Tremonde, right? Or you, I think. I forgot. I've got my phone right here. But you know what? And if you need a bro hug, cry it out. I've got a shoulder. I
don't think of you as a bro.
You can cry those.
Are you like a bro? You don't seem like a bro. You don't act like a bro.
He's got two shoulders that he wants Tremonde's legs up on.
I know.
He's just all about one of them
on the back of his head. He wants that.
Maybe he wants it on the front of his head. How do you know?
Oh, way to go!
He just wants legs over his shoulders.
Way to flip
that's
it.
What he was doing.
And that's. And that's what makes a podcast.
All right. Well, as always, the invitation goes out to the Slaptail Nation. If you're interested in having us talk about any topics, or if you think about any guest, or if you'd like to be a guest, just go ahead, contact us at slaptailsquad@gmail.com. You can also check out our website that the Ronz has done a real shit job on, and all he does is basically post the episode on there. Doesn't really mind or any comments, and it looks like poo-poo. But that's not Ron's fault. He's a very busy guy.
Okay.
And our website is slaptailnation.com.
Quick.
Why are you introducing me when I'm telling him what the website
I really want
to. Why would you do that? I'm introducing. I'm saying what our website is, and you just start talking over me. Why is that?
All right.
Is it okay? Do I have your permission now?
Go ahead.
He likes to hear his voice. You do. You can have the microphone.
Slaptailnation.com.
Yeah, I want the microphone.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay, go ahead, Ron.
Did you catch the hidden joke yet?
What was your hidden joke on your post? I mean, you suck.
I'll tell you off air.
All right. Well, I'm sure it's not clever, but hey, this is me, the Beaveman, saying adios, mooch fuckos.
Bye from the Swan.
Tremonde, we hope you come back soon. And from the Ronz.
And from the Tremonde.
He wants Tremonde
from the Tremonde to the back of Ron's heads.
Deuces.
Yeah, right.